the fireproof palace of Salmoneus. The streets of Elis shimmered under the scorching sun, its marble columns and gilded palaces reflecting the golden light. Merchants called out their wares in the bustling agora, artisans sculpted images of gods and heroes, and priests burned sacred offerings at the temple of Zeus. Or at least they once had. Atop the greatest palace in Elis, a man stood wrapped in golden robes, his broad chest puffed out, his thick curls gleaming like the metal that adorned his halls. King Salmoneus. A ruler unlike any other, at least in his own mind. At his feet, his chief advisor, Dorias, knelt with his forehead pressed against the cool stone. The old man trembled as he spoke. "My king, I beg you, do not tempt the wrath of Olympus. Zeus is watching and he does not suffer false gods lightly." Salmoneus laughed, deep and booming, his voice carrying over the palace walls. "False god." He stepped forward, his golden sandals clanking against the stone. "What is false about what stands before you?" He lifted his arms. "Am I not mighty? Have I not crushed my enemies, built roads that stretch beyond the mountains, filled my granaries till they burst?" Dorias did not raise his head. "You are mighty, my king, but... Salmoneus' smile turned cold. "You speak as though I owe my strength to another. I owe Zeus nothing. My lord. I will not cower beneath an unseen god." Salmoneus bellowed. "I am the storm. I am the thunder. If the people bow to Zeus, why should they not bow to me?" Dorias dared to glance up. His heart pounded. "Because, my king, Zeus hurls lightning from the heavens. You cannot." Salmoneus chuckled, a low knowing sound. "Ah, but that is where you are wrong, old man." That night the people of Elis were summoned to the palace courtyard. The torches blazed high, casting long flickering shadows. The air was thick with the scent of burning oil and hot iron. The crowd whispered among themselves, anxious, unsure. Since the king had forbidden the worship of Zeus, fear had seeped into their bones. No longer could they offer prayers. No longer could they sacrifice a goat or pour a libation to the Father of gods. They prayed in secret now, hands clasped tightly in the dark. They did not dare defy Salmoneus aloud, for his wrath was swift. Upon the balcony the king appeared, adorned in a robe of pure gold, his arms spread wide. Behind him great bronze cauldrons were mounted on wheels, hitched to his finest war horses. At his command, the chariots were driven across the stone roads, and with each step of the horses' hooves the cauldrons clashed. A terrible metallic roar echoed through the city like rolling thunder. The people gasped. Sounded like Zeus himself. "Behold!" Salmoneus' voice rang out. "The thunder of the heavens is mine to command." The cauldrons clashed and rumbled. The noise was deafening. "Kneel before me," the king commanded. "For I am Salmoneus the mighty, the king of storms, the god of thunder." The people exchanged glances, terror in their eyes. Some fell to their knees, not out of worship but fear. Others simply froze, afraid that even hesitation would bring his wrath. Dorias stood among them, his hands balled into fists. "Fools," he thought. "This cannot last. The true God is watching." High above, hidden behind a veil of darkened clouds, Zeus watched. The king's arrogance was nothing new. Men had always been foolish, power-hungry rulers had risen before, whispering their own names in the wind as though Olympus could not hear them. But Salmoneus? This one had gone too far. He had burned temples in Zeus's name, declared himself above the gods, and forced the people to kneel before him instead. This was not mere vanity. This was theft. And Zeus would not be stolen from. The sky rumbled. The next night, Salmoneus prepared his grandest spectacle yet. He had ordered his servants to line the palace walls with oil-soaked torches, ready to be cast down like bolts of lightning. The fire would fall and the people would believe. As the king stepped onto his golden balcony, the crowd was already gathered below. This time their expressions were hollow, eyes darting skyward. Storm was coming. The air was thick, electric, waiting. Salmoneus ignored it. Tonight, he declared, the people of Elis shall witness a true god. He raised his arms. The chariots rolled, the cauldrons clashed, and the mock thunder filled the streets. Let the lightning fall. Servants hurled burning torches from the palace walls. Flames streaked through the air, lighting up the night sky. And then a blinding flash. The sky split open. A bolt of pure white lightning struck the palace with such force that the ground trembled beneath it. The torches were nothing compared to the fury of the heavens. The people screamed as the golden palace ignited, its walls melting like wax. The mighty balcony collapsed and Salmoneus, the self-proclaimed god, fell into the fire. No. His final cries were swallowed by the flames. His golden robe burned to nothing. His body, his mortal fragile body, was turned to ash. The great palace, the fireproof palace, crumbled into ruin. When the dawn broke over Elis, the city was silent. The streets were filled with smoke and rubble, the palace reduced to charred remnants of arrogance. The people gathered where their king had once stood, their eyes lifted to the sky. Zeus did not need to speak. His warning had been made clear. Slowly they knelt, not before another mortal but before the true god of the heavens. Dorias exhaled, his gaze still fixed on the ruins. The will of the gods cannot be stolen, only borrowed, and for that even kings must pay. And so the name of Salmoneus was whispered in Elis no more, except as a warning. Beware the fool who plays God. He will be the first to burn,